White Trash Talking.
Hi, I'm Doug Johnson, and this is White Trash Talking. Things are not going well for the U.S. Iran has defeated the U.S. military, yet another in a string of defeats going back to Vietnam. But this time the results are catastrophic for Americans as oil prices continue to rise, the economy tanks, and Trump finds himself trapped. He's unable to force regime change in Iran and is powerless to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. He can't declare victory and walk away because Netanyahu owns him. Zionists not only bought Trump for hundreds of millions and now expect results, but it's likely that Trump is being blackmailed by the Zionists. Nevertheless, it's a lost cause. The loss is total. This is the end of the American empire. 17 U.S. military bases throughout the Gulf region, in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, and Jordan, were destroyed by Iranian missiles and are unlikely to ever house U.S. soldiers again. The U.S.'s billion-dollar satellite systems are also in ruins. The U.S.'s multi-million-dollar jets cannot even fly over Iran for fear of being tracked by advanced Chinese-made radar. And the vaunted U.S. aircraft carriers must stay 1,000 miles away as they are sitting ducks for Iran's hypersonic missiles and drones. Even if the U.S. military could get close enough to Iran to destroy military targets, which they can't, they have run out of bombs. Let me repeat that. The U.S., the so-called greatest, most exceptional country in the world, the most powerful empire the world has ever seen, the land of milk and honey, the beacon on the hill, is out of ammo, and they can't replace it fast enough. Several days ago, Senator Mark Kelly questioned Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth about the U.S. shortage of munitions.
Okay, how many years to replenish? That's the question.
I think that's exactly the right question, too, Senator, because the time frame we were existing under was unacceptable.
Okay, well,
and
tell
what this
me,
budget does, months and years, fast.
Years?
I mean, we're building new plants in real time.
So just to replace what we have expended.
I said months.
And then you said years.
It depends on the weapon system, but 2 to 3, 4x of what we have today.
Okay.
So yes, we're dealing with a reality under the previous administration of what they sent to Ukraine and what they allocated elsewhere.
Okay, I got it. So
And
we
we're
fired
rapidly doing
years
it quickly.
worth of munitions. And it is clear that these are being expended to try to achieve some objectives. That was the plan. But, Mr. Secretary, this war is stuck.
They're building new plants now? If true, this will take more than a couple of months. Here's Scott Ritter, ex-Marine and former weapons inspector, giving his assessment of the situation.
We wanted regime change. We wanted the neutralization of Iranians' ballistic missile capability, and we wanted the eradication of Iran's nuclear program. And we have achieved none of these. The regime is stronger than ever. The ballistic missiles are not at 18%, as the president says, or at 70%, as the CIA says. They're at 120%, as the Iranian foreign minister points out. Iran has not only reconstituted the totality of its pre-war ballistic missile capabilities, but has expanded it by 20%. So Iran is far stronger today in ballistic missiles than they were when the war started. And of course, the nuclear program has not been eradicated, and the United States, has not achieved, anything in that regard. So we have failed across the board. But more importantly, we have failed, in a manner which we have never failed before. I point out, we have lost wars. We lost the Vietnam War. We lost the war in Afghanistan. We even lost the conflict in Iraq. But these were political defeats. These were losses that came when the American people and the American political establishment lost the will to continue. These were not losses that were accrued by us being physically defeated on the battlefield. This war is different. We've been physically defeated. We have not accomplished our objectives, and we're out of ammunition. That's the bottom line. Thank you, Senator Kelly, for pointing out that which we all knew about. We have nothing left, and we can't replace it. We're at zero across the board, which means we've not only been strategically defeated in Iran, but we now have lost any strategic ability to project power effectively or threaten the projection of power effectively in the Pacific or in Europe. I mean, no one can fear us now because we have zero capacity to defend ourselves. If the Chinese opted to go to Taiwan today, there was nothing we can do. And the same thing, if the Russians made a push on Europe, there's nothing we can do. We have no standoff weapons. None. We have no missiles to defend, to shoot down. None. We're down to zero. We've depleted the arsenal. So, this is a defeat across the board. Robert Kagan, who's a very neoconservative guy, has written about this in the Atlantic, which is not a left-wing leaning anti-war publication. It's a transatlantic booster, always in favor of Israel and the push against Iran. And he's come out and basically said what I just said, that this is a strategic defeat like anything we've ever suffered. He is saying this is a defeat unlike which the United States is. This is the kind of defeat that changes the global order.
This article by Robert Kagan, published in The Atlantic, demonstrates the extent of the U.S. defeat. Kagan, of course, as Scott Ritter said, is a staunch neocon who worked under Dick Cheney and is normally a cheerleader for U.S. aggression. The name of the article is Checkmate in Iran. Washington can't reverse or control the consequences of losing this war. Scott Ritter goes on to explain in detail why the U.S. defense industry is so slow to respond to the weapons shortage.
They are saying we've got nothing, literally nothing, and we can't rebuild. We don't have time to rebuild. We don't have the production capacity to rebuild. And in some cases, China controls the ability to rebuild because China controls the technology we need to build these missiles. A lot of the components that we use are come from China. Irony. So literally, we're at zero and we have no capacity to rebuild. America has literally gutted itself from a military standpoint. We have a defense industry now whose sole function is to make money for shareholders. They don't exist to produce weapons for the American warfighter. They don't. And the weapons we produce are outdated by the time we produce them. They don't work, and they just cost far more money than they're worth. We have a system where instead of having a prime contractor that can rapidly do turnaround, we take a weapon and we break it up and we parse it out to as many congressional districts as possible. So we spread load the largesse that's being put down there to put money in the pockets of constituents who then continue to support the specific representative in question. This is a money-making machine where they take U.S. taxpayer dollars and they flow it through the defense industry back into the communities. People might say that's good. For all the people out there going, I hate communism. We have the most communist system in the world, where we take the taxpayers' money and we put it through the military and flow it back in. It's government-funded economy. That's it. And it's not designed to produce weapons for the warfighter. It's designed to enrich people. We are incapable of quick turnaround. The defense industry doesn't exist to protect you. People should know that. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, these aren't people that are pro-American. They like to fly the American flag and paste it over everything and say, we're here for you. They're not. They're here to rob you blind and give you the worst weapons possible. If you think the Patriot missiles is good, look at its performance. It sucks. None of our weapons work. None of our weapons work the way they're supposed to. They are overhyped, and then we send our men and women into harm's way, and then we're shocked stuff goes wrong and pilots get shot down and equipment breaks and people run out of ammunition. The system's broke.
What does it say about the U.S. that these large defense corporations, the beating heart of U.S. industry, are so short-sighted that they can't see beyond quarterly profits and that they sacrifice quality on the altar of greed? Essentially, these industries have cannibalized themselves. It's not surprising that oligarchs running the U.S. government don't take care of the people. That's not surprising. But it turns out that they can't even manage themselves. Now that U.S. predatory capitalism has reached its final stage and the U.S. can no longer project power globally, what's next? The only things left in the U.S. stockpile are nuclear weapons. Would Trump use them? Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Bye.